Hi there and welcome to another episode. This is another of our informative videos where this time we'll go through the hitching and unhitching process of the caravan. Appreciate your feedback. I know we've had a few requests for this. So yeah, we will go through hitching, unhitching and also the pack away of the caravan.
Yeah, so this is just the way we do it. You guys may do it differently. You don't have to do it the same way we do it. But we each assign each other jobs and we find this works for us. So this is the way we do it. So we thought we'd take you through. So please enjoy, guys. And if you really enjoy it, just give us a subscribe if you can, a like, and any recommendations or comments, chuck them down below as usual.
Okay, so we've got a spot. So we are in site 52. Shall I walk you up?
Yes, please. Let's go.
Okay. So I'm just going to open up, get this down and get the leveler. We keep it right at the front, so this is easy to get to because it's the first thing we need. So you can see this one is always a guilty culprit. So that's opened, and then there's a couple of things I do just to double check on the level. So up here on the TV thing, there's a leveler just here for the sort of front of the van. And we also do a bathroom door check. So when it's level, the bathroom door doesn't open or shut automatically. So based on that, this actually looks pretty level. So I'll also just grab the leveler here and just do a check. So based on that, everything is telling me that it's level from left to right. Then what I do is I just pop at the spirit level here because Chris will want it later for levelling front to back. Now, if the caravan isn't level left to right, we do have here a levelling ramp. And so based on which side is lower and which side needs lifting, we'll use this levelling ramp. Now, I will always try and put the levelling ramp, so let's just pretend this side's a bit lower. I'll put the levelling ramp here behind the back wheel, just because we find that when we reverse onto the leveler, when we unhitch the van from the car, there's less of a jolt. If, however, the caravan is pointing down, just obviously for momentum's sake, we'll put the leveler on that side, and that'll just balance that out. And then even if it is level, I'll still just use the leveler as one of my chocks, because you can never have too many chocks. And then we'll just go around and put the other chocks underneath. So we have 6. So I'll put 3 at each side. So, and I'll try and make, so here you can see we have 2 on the front and 1 at the back. So on the other side, I'll do 2 at the back and 1 at the front. So 1 behind, 2 behind, 1 in front. There we go.
And just to get a little bit more traction, we just give them a light hammer in, so each one. So just give it a little bit like that, just to get under the wheel. That one we don't hammer in because it won't go any further than that. Just so it's nice and tucked in under the wheel. Ooh, this one's a bit tricky, but there we go. And last one. Right, now that the caravan's all nice and level, left to right wise, we've got the chocks underneath, it's time to put the jockey wheel in and get it unhitched. So I've just got this piece of plywood, it's kind of 5 thick plywood, just bought some from Bunnings and chopped it up. I use this to put the jockey wheel on top of here, it just stops it slipping and if it's wet, soggy ground, it also stops it from sinking into the ground. So we'll just chuck that under here for now. Loosen this jockey wheel clamp like so. There we go. Grab our jockey wheel, which we just store in the tunnel boot there, and pop it in like this. So when I pop it in, I always try and keep the jockey wheel kind of east to west side. So that means if the hitch isn't quite exactly on, I can kind of push it left and right, push the whole caravan. It just gives me a little bit more flexibility when I'm moving it. And then I just pick which, so the jockey wheel has 3 kind of little grooves in it which match up to these, and you can put it on any one, whichever one you need depending on the ground. So I try and get it as close to the ground as possible. So in this case I'm going to put this top groove into the middle slot and then lock it up like so. Just make sure it's really nice and tight. That's not going anywhere. And then I'll just adjust this so it's nice and straight like that. Right, so now we've got the caravan level left to right. We've got the jockey wheel in, we've got the little piece of wood underneath. We're ready to unhitch the caravan.
Got the chocks, so the caravan is nice and secure.
Yep, so it is not going to move at all. But there is one last thing before we do any unhitching. We just put the park brake on, the handbrake. I pull it as hard as I can and get it into the highest slot I can, which is usually always there. And that just means this caravan isn't going anywhere. Alright, so we just start unwinding the jockey wheel like so. And I just do it enough so the wheel gets contact with the wood. And when I can feel the chassis start to lift slightly, I leave it where it is and I just unclasp this like so, like that. So now this is no longer connected only by its weight, so then I lever the jockey wheel so this will come up. And at this point I just get Hannah to double check as I go. So let's unwind it and hopefully we shouldn't get too much movement at all. How's it coming?
Okay, yeah, it's moving. Keep coming. Keep coming. It's about half off. There we go.
There you go. We're off. We know it's clear. So that's all done. That's ready to go. Alright, next we're going to remove any of these cables we've got connected to the car. So I've got the 12 pin here. Just close that so it doesn't get any dust in it. Have the reversing camera here. I did have little caps for these, but they keep coming off and I keep losing them, so it just is what it is. Grey Anderson here. This has a little cover. I just like to put that on like that. Just make sure no dust gets in there. And then we've got the ESC as well. So just pull that out. And I just tuck them, pull them out and just tuck them in here like that. Just hang them there nicely. Finally, the last thing to do is the chains. Now, when you're unhitching, it's important to do all of the steps first and leave the chains until last. Just in case anything happens, at least the chains are still connected to the car and it will fall and catch the caravan if it does fall. So now that we've unhitched everything else, it's just time for the chains to come off.
So part of what I do when we're taking the chains off is this is our brake safe, so our breakaway trail safe it's called. I will also unhook this as part of the process, which is quite difficult using my right hand as I'm left-handed. And then let's do the chains.
Hannah and I pass each other the chains. Thank you. And then with the Crusader, a cool little feature is that we've got these little clasps where you just connect the chains to there. And that's it, simple as that, we're done. So now we'll just move the car out and start leveling the caravan front to back. So now it's level left to right, we're going to level it back to front. So you can see here already, it's pretty unlevel. So that's just from when we were unhitching it, so I haven't changed anything yet. So this is telling me I actually need to pull it down quite a bit, or pull the back end up, like that. So all we need to do is unwind the jockey wheel and get it a bit more level. Now it needed quite a bit of work, so it might need a few turns this to get it nice and level.
So I'll come round the corner and I will let Chris know. Keep going.
That's about as far as I can go,
yeah, so we're going to be a little bit, we are on quite a bit of a slope here. Yeah. So we are going to be a bit higher front to back. Then what I normally do is I just see if it's a deal breaker and I go into the caravan and then we just have a suss out to see if it just feels okay. Because yeah, often it would be lovely to be in level sights all the time, but that's not reality. Yeah. So we sometimes you just have to make do with what you've got.
Yeah, and I mean, like when we come in here, I can't really feel the slant at all too much.
No, I mean
only very slightly, but not enough to really bother us. So if it was a real problem, we'd probably go to the caravan park and see if we get a different site, but I think this is fine. All right, okay, caravan's all ready to go. Now we're just going to put the stabilizers down. So we've got a little tool, this nifty little gadget here. Now I know you can do it with a drill, but I need the arm exercise, so I'll just use this. So the van has 4 stabilizers, 1 on each corner. And when we put these down, this just really helps to stop the van rocking at all. And they're not really there to hold the van up, they're only there for minor support. So we shouldn't really put these down too much so the van will lift. It's just to give it that extra support.
So you unwind it so that it's firm, but not actually holding anything up?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. This is as far as I can go with it locking in. So just do that, it's locked in. And then unwind it, like so.
Work those biceps, work those biceps.
Yes. It's always arm day on staycation hours. So we've also got these little wooden stands that I made before I left. And we use these if it's sandy or if it's grassy. We use these just to put under here. Gives it a little bit more support. And if it rains as well, it doesn't mean they sink. So if you put the stabilizers directly on the ground, sometimes the ground gets soft and then you start to move a little bit. So we'll put that under there. There we go. That's about as good as it's going to get. And let's do the other 3. Now this one actually locks in here, which is pretty close, and I don't think I'm going to get this under it really. So I just won't bother using it for this one. Okay, we're staying at a caravan park tonight, so last step is to hook up the water, electricity and the silage. So we keep all of these hoses in here. As you can see, bit of a mess. First one is electricity. I usually do this one first, just so we can get the fridge back on the grid as soon as possible. So literally just chuck that in here, like this. Like that. Find our little electricity box. We are number 52 today, lucky number 52. And in we go. Alright, next is the fresh water. So we've got all these little pieces here. I keep losing these. I've lost at least 2 or 3 so far, so I always carry a few spares. I've got one at the moment. I think I lost the other one. So just get the fresh water hose, which we keep in here. So firstly, I just plug in one end into our Caravan, like so. Hear a click like that. Chuck out, tap on like that, just like any other garden hose, and connect it and turn it on full. If we turn it on full, we get the best pressure. Okay, last step is putting the silage hose on. So we keep these in the wheelie bin at the back of the van. Anything dirty or wet or stinky, we keep in here. So we've got 2 different types of silage hose. We've got this black one, which is really flexible and quite short, and we've got another grey one which is much longer in there. It's about 12 meters long, just in case we need to have a drain far off in the distance. Alright, so all we need to do, chuck that on there, open the silage valve, and then usually if a caravan site has a drain, we'll put this in the drain, but this particular one doesn't, so we're just going to flow it off into a bush somewhere, which doesn't bother anyone. Here's a bush I found. I'm just going to chuck it in there.
Coming inside, we now have power, so what I do is I then switch over to the grid power. So you can see it's not flashing now. The fridge is now connected to the 240 volt system and will stay nice and cold. Once I've switched the fridge over, I then come over to the projector panel and I just turn the load on. You can hear it go there. I don't need the water pump on because we're connected to water, but if we weren't connected to water, I'd also switch the pump on at the same time. So now everything's up and running and we're good to go.
Wait a minute, Hannah, we're not quite done. You've forgotten the most important step.
What's that? We've had a great few days at this caravan park and now it's time to move on to the next one. So I have tidied up the inside of the caravan to the best of my ability and now it's time to pack up. Now when we first started, both Crusader when we bought the caravan and Towhead when we did the towing course gave us some checklists, which when we first started travelling we used these a lot. As we've sort of got more familiar with our own routine, we've created our own sort of pack up checklist. And so I'm not actually going to use these here, but it's good to know that they exist. And I'm just going to talk through what we do. So I usually start at the far end of the caravan in the bedroom. And I'll start just by opening the windows, but making sure that they are all shut at either side. Yeah, make sure they're shut. And then climb on the bed. Not very elegant, I know. And do the same with this one. So just make sure it's all shut. Okay, so then come back off the bed and get the TV. So the TV needs to be packed away for travel. So just unclip that and unplug it, and then just grab the bottom of the TV and lift that off, and the TV goes on the bed for travel. I then also have just an additional blanket here which I'll just chuck on just to help stop any movement. Then go to the overhead window and just make sure that that is shut and locked. And then go to all of the cupboards and drawers and just make sure these are all properly shut and clicked in. Okay, next thing, I'll just check that the inverter isn't on. Now that's only relevant most of the time when we're off-grid camping, but just as part of the routine, it's good to have. So I'll then just clip the thing back onto the TV so that that's all nicely put away. Then because I've taken the TV off, we also need to take the aerial down. So before you wind it down, you have to make sure the two arrows here are in alignment and then wind it down, because you want to make sure that the aerial is winding down in the right direction, otherwise it'll stick off the side of your caravan. So that's down. So TV's sorted, cupboards are shut, windows are shut, so that's the bedroom done. Okay. Then I close up the hob, make sure all of the gas, all of the hobs are switched off, and I usually just pop the tea towels on there. And then again go through the same process, just checking that's off, make sure the aircon or heating's off, and then just check all of the cupboards are shut, make sure these two side windows are shut, and make sure that all of the latches are shut on there as well. And I usually just tighten these a bit as well. Make sure that the table is locked into place so that that's not going to move. Then onto the sink. So I've got a collapsible dish drainer, so I just make sure that's down. I'll pop the sponges just on there. And again, I'll just go and check all the drawers and cupboards. Now, after travelling for a while, you know which the guilty culprits are in terms of cupboards that come over while travelling. This is one for us, so I usually give that an extra hard chop just to make sure it stays shut. Okay, just coming back here, I noticed that there's still some of the lights on, so I'll just open this cupboard, which is our control cupboard. This is the gas hot water if we're off-grid camping, so if we have been, I'll make sure that's switched off. And then this is just these overhead lights, so I'll turn those off as well. And just check that the cupboard's closed. Okay, so then coming to the next skylight, I'll just close that. Make sure the things are open as well. Then onto the fridge. So what I'll do here, so as you can see, we've been connected to 240 volts, so there's a little grid, a little plug symbol. So what I will do now is, because we're about to unplug, or Chris will be unplugging at the same time, so you can see here there is an auto which in theory automatically switches between the two. We prefer to do it manually, so we're in control. So we're about to get in the car, at which point the car battery will be charging the fridge. So we'll switch onto that and then out of here. And here you'll see that there's now the battery symbol, but it's erroring at the moment because Chris hasn't yet connected the car up. But we'll leave that, and I will come back and check that later. Okay, into the bathroom. I make sure that the door is firstly clipped into place, and I just stand on the thing just to double check that's the case. We have here the electric hot water, which we'll have on if we're connected to power. So I'll switch that off. Again, just check the window. I'll just make sure the washing machine door's closed, and again, check all of the cupboard doors are shut. Make sure the light's off, and then we come into the shower. So what I do in the shower is I take the shower head off, and I grab this little bag here and pop the shower head into the bag like this, and that then goes on the base of the shower while travelling. I've also just got washcloth, and I'll just pop those on the floor as well, so that that won't fall or anything. You can see then that the vent is still open, so I'll close the vent. The lights will automatically go off when I switch them off at the main remote. I then lock the shower door so that that won't come open during travelling. Just check the vent here that that's shut, and then we're done for the bathroom. Just make sure these cupboard doors are all shut as well, and then I come up here. So I will turn off all of the lights, kitchen, living, bathroom, so all of the lights are now off, and then I go to the little control panel, and then I will turn off, again you can see here we're connected to power, so in this instance I just need to turn the load or the power off. If we were off grid we'd also have the pump on, so I'd turn the pump off, but here we go. So I'll switch the load off, and here we can just check that that's now gone to load off. I'm not sure if you can see that, but that's what it says. So that is all done for inside.
Okay, now that Hannah's finished inside, I'm going to take you through what I do externally to set up the caravan ready to head off. So first things first, Hannah's turned off the power, so I can now unplug it from the grid. So unplug our plug here. So we're plugged in here, number 52 we were. Unplug it there, just like any other extension cord, and we just pack it away like this. Most of the time this is long enough, but we have been to a couple of caravan sites where this hasn't been long enough, believe it or not. It's like 20 meters long, but we've found people with extra extension cords and they've been really helpful. But 9 out of 10 times this is perfect. Just chuck it in there like that. Next I'll untap the water. So first I'll turn the water off at the tap, like this, like any other tap. Perfect. And then I'll come over to the caravan. I'm not going to actually unplug it straight away, because if I do I'm going to get a face full of water, and I've done that a few times before. So first I'm just going to open the tanks a little bit and let the excess water just get into the tanks. So just by doing this, turn that on and you might be able to hear it. There we go. It's only a little bit of water, but now when I unplug the tap I don't get squirted in the face. Hot tip. So then I'm going to unplug it from the tap and just wind her up. We've got a little bag here that we use to keep the fresh water hose, so just chuck it in there like that, and she's ready to go. One other thing we can't forget is the tap fitting. Now I always leave these at caravan parks. I've lost 3 or 4 of them so far, so I'll just pull that off the tap, and there we go, and then just chuck it in our little tap section here. Hannah always double checks this before we go as well. Perfect. Close that up like that, lock up this side of the tunnel boot. Next is the silage. Turn this off like so and unconnect it, and carefully just drain the water out of the hose. There we go, all done. And we put it back in our wheelie bin. So I just kind of stuff it in. Not too precious with it, to be honest. There we go, all ready to go with that. Okay, next step is to retract our stabilizers. So I'll go get my little tool here. Well, big tool. And just start winding each stabilizer up. There we go. And I have to lock them in place before we set off. So to do that, I just pull this out, keep them level until it locks in, just like that. Finally, the last thing is to just shut this shield. So this shield stops any rocks hitting the screen. That's easy to do, so I just untwist this like that, go around the other side, do the same thing, and then these little clips just clasp in like that, and I just tighten the side bits as well, just so it has a bit more stability. So click that in, tighten this. Right, so that's it. That's pretty much the pack up outside. Now we'll take you through our hitching process.
So now I will direct Chris back in line with the tow ball. I'll get him to stop probably, you know, a good 6 inches, 10 centimeters before the tow ball, because I haven't yet lifted the tow ball high enough for the hitch to happen. So at the moment it's just going to be leveling, so I'll be telling him to go left or right. Chris will be using his reversing camera and also my directions. Okay, come back slowly, that way, a tiny bit, yeah, stop. Okay, so once the tow bolt is in line with the hitch, we get Chris, I get Chris to come back out and raise the jockey wheel so that when we connect it, the hitch goes, the tow ball goes directly underneath the hitch.
How am I going?
A bit more. Yeah, I think that should be good. Okay, so Chris gets back in the car, and then we can see the tow ball is level this way. So now I'm just going to guide him back slowly to get to the right point. Okay, slowly, backwards, slowly, keep coming, slowly, 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 very slowly, slowly, stop. Okay, you're most of the way under, just a fraction more, tiny bit more, stop.
Okay, so car's in position now, so now we just have to hitch it. So I start by lowering the jockey wheel like this, just keeping an eye on how we're going. Hannah also does a check from the side for me. Here we go, it's starting to hit it now. It might just clip in a little bit because it's slightly out. Oh, there we go. So I unwind all the way to the jockey wheel, the entire thing, like that, so it won't go any further. And then I clip down this, I don't know what you call it, clip, just like so, and it just goes under there like that. So now the hitch is now locked onto the tow ball, and that won't move at all. Next stop is I just remove the jockey wheel. So I've done this quite tight. There we go, like that. And I just put the jockey wheel in the tunnel boot over here. Close the brackets. Just wind it up like that. Again, make sure she's nice and tight, not too tight though. And our little block of wood, just dust it off a bit and clean it up before it goes in the tunnel boot. Next we turn the gas off, just make sure the gas is completely off. Both Hannah and I do multiple checks on this because it's very dangerous to drive with your gas on. Alright, now for hitching the trailer, the most important thing is we get the chains on. So when we're unhitching, it's the last thing to come off, and when we hitch, it's the first thing. So let's put the chains on. It's also really important that they cross, and this side goes over that side, just like that. And the reason why it's really important for them to cross is it creates like a cradle. So if, touch wood, if the Caravan ever came loose from the car, as long as we've got the chains on, in theory this should just cradle into the chains, and the chains have got a 3.5 ton load capacity, so they should be able to hold the trailer. And it's just a safety mechanism to make sure that the trailer doesn't go smashing into the ground and you'll never get it out again.
So we use the 4th chain along because that means that the chains don't drag too much on the ground. So you can see that they're a nice height, especially because we do some off-roading. They're a nice height off the ground, and that's that crossover that Chris was talking about, that then will cradle the hitch if anything happens. And my side as well, I have the breakaway, so the trail's safe. So we just have a carabiner here and I clip that on.
Okay, next is doing the connections. So we've got all of these, a load of connections for our van. First thing is the 12 pin, so I just remove that dust cap and chuck her in like that, just give her a bit of a shimmy. That clicks in like that. Next is the reversing camera. So I just screw that on like so. Beautiful. And then we've got the Anderson, so I'll just take off the dust cap there and wiggle until she kind of clicks. There we go. And finally the ESC. Just plug that in there. There we go. And once that's in, I just check the Elco ESC light here. If that's flashing green, then that means we're good to go. It means it's ready to calibrate. Usually you have to drive 200 or 300 meters and that will turn solid green, which means our stability control is active. So finally, the last thing we do, we're all hitched up, we're all ready to go. Last thing I do is just undo the handbrake. It takes a bit of effort to undo, and it rests nicely there, so I just clip it there like that.
At this point, Chris gets back in the car, so all there is left for me to do is remove the chocks and test the indicators and then do a final check. Okay, Chris, if you can hear me, left indicator. Yeah, right. Yeah, hazards. Yeah, headlights. Yeah, and brakes. Yeah, great. And then that's it. So finally, I just double check the fridge here. So we can see that's now connected to the battery fine. I will finally lift the stair, close the door, and we will lock up.
All right, now Hannah and I both just do a check of the van. So firstly, check everything here, check all the connections are in okay, clasp is down, handbrake's on, ESC lights ready to go, trail safe. Just check the gas is off, and then I just check everything to make sure everything's secure and locked. Tunnel boot's still open. Done. Awning retracted and locked. Windows closed. Door locked, light off. Step retract, we've got to make sure the step isn't out. Awning's closed. Cassette's closed. Shower locked. Windows are locked. Perfect, it's all looking good so far. Tunnel boot closed, and electricity thing shut, and toolbox and jerry cans secure. And then I just do another check. So both Hannah and I do that check, and then we both check the hitch again. So make sure that gas is off, locked in, ESC's okay, handbrake, clasp, chains, electricity, we're good to go.
And we're off in the car to the next place. I hope you found this hitching and unhitching and all things caravan setup video useful. Thanks for joining us again. We appreciate your support. If you haven't done already, please subscribe to our videos and like and comment away. We love to see comments and feedback are really good.
And we'll chuck a checklist online, so if anyone's interested in the way we do it, this is just our personal method that works for us. You guys might find a different way, but yeah, at staycationoz.com.au on the information and tips page, we'll chuck a checklist for you.
Great, well thanks again, and we will see you in our next video. Bye.
See you guys.